Hello students! In this video I want to talk to you about free writing. Free writing is a generative writing technique that helps you get your ideas down on paper. Before I tell you more about free writing though, I want to first tell you about a little story about myself as a writer. So this story is about me and my writing habits when I was an undergraduate university student. So I was a very hopeful writer, and I really believed every time that I got a writing assignment that I was going to do the best job on that assignment that I could do. So I would start to write right away, and I would try to start to write right away. And I had grand visions of what my writing would be. So I was convinced that this would be the best assignment that I had ever written every time I got an assignment and I would sit down to start writing it. However, as soon as I sat down to start to write, I would get stuck. And I would find myself sitting in front of a blank screen right up until the deadline. So this is a super typical pattern. I don't even know if I ever did it any other way when I was an undergrad. I would try to start off great, have nothing to say for weeks, and then when the assignment was due, I would go into a mad panic and try to save myself. So I would often write all of my essays overnight or the day before the assignment was due. It was a mad dash. And this pattern of writing continued for many years. So it was kind of a cycle of perfectionism, getting stuck, and then doing everything at the last minute. Finally, one of my instructors taught me some generative writing techniques, including free writing. My instructor introduced me to the writing of Peter Elbow, and Peter Elbow introduced free writing to university instruction in his book called Writing Without Teachers. And free writing, like I said in the introduction, is a generative writing technique. So it's something that helps you get your ideas down on paper. And you probably already know some generative writing techniques. Mind mapping is a really popular one that high school teachers like to teach their students. In free writing, it's a bit different than mind mapping, however. What you do in free writing is you try to write as fast as you possibly can. You write in short sessions, usually 5 to 25 minutes. I rarely go longer than 25 minutes just because my brain can't handle it. And when you're free writing, you do not pay attention to spelling, grammar, punctuation, or the organization of your writing. You make a gigantic mess. This is private writing. So this is writing where you're just writing for yourself. You're writing to straighten out your ideas and get your ideas down. Sometimes what happens with free writing is you get stuck even when you're free writing and you can't think of what you want to write. And if you do, what you can do is you can just start to write nothing until finally you'll get an idea come to your mind. So why do we do free writing? Why does this help us? The best analogy I can give you is this one. When we're in school and when we're learning to write, we really emphasize the development of the editor muscle. You can see this crab has a very strong claw and very weak claws on the other side of him. So the editor muscle gets very strong and it starts to override the creative muscle. So we don't equally develop these two muscles. And if you imagine somebody that only worked out on one side of their body, you can imagine them running in circles because their one side of the body is stronger than the other side. And that's what happens to us essentially when we start to write. We start to go in circles because our editor muscle is so strong that it actually starts to edit our creative ideas before they have a chance to be developed and get down onto the paper. So free writing really helps you try to develop that creative muscle and get your good ideas down on paper. It also helps you to access some of your ideas that are just at the edge of your consciousness. So sometimes when you are thinking about something, you kind of know that something's bothering you about this thing and you can't quite yet articulate it in words. And free writing can help you get to that. It also helps you to avoid writer's block. So all of the time that I spent as a student looking at the blank screen probably could have been avoided if I had learned to free write much earlier in my writing career. And if you free write enough, you'll find that you actually have enough material to build your first draft and your second draft sometimes from your free writing, and that just takes the pressure off of staring at a blank screen. I want to show you an example of what it looks like when I free write. So this is the web page called the Most Dangerous Writing App. So basically it's a free writing website or a page, and if you do stop writing, all of your progress will be lost. So it's a very good incentive to keep writing. So you can set however long you want the session to be. I just chose 3 minutes because I wanted to show you a quick example. I don't want you to watch me free writing for 10 minutes. So here we go. I'll give it a try. All right, so there you go. A little bit of what free writing looks like. Oh no, it's going away. Now it's gone. So, but that would give you an example of just how messy and complicated and following train of thought. That's what it's supposed to look like. That's what you're supposed to do when you free write. What can you do with your free writing? So I think it's important to mention this because sometimes people, you're just making a mess of really messy writing. You're making a whole bunch of really messy writing. What can you do with it in the end? So what I do is I save all my free writing. I like to sleep on it, so sleep for a day and before I go look at it if I can. And then I go back and I look through it and I read through it and look for passages that I find interesting. So essentially I'm reading my own writing as a reader. I'm trying to find things that might work. And I start a conversation almost with myself by commenting on the things that I find in there that might be interesting. So I ask questions of myself and I comment on myself. And often I can follow up with another free writing session that gets me even closer to the ideas that I'm trying to pull out of my thinking. There are important variations on free writing, and if you're my student, you're probably going to get to experience them in my class because we'll do a few of these variations. So you can do focused free writing where you focus only on one topic. If you're working on an assignment for university, for instance, you can narrow down what you're working on and really try to focus your free writing on one idea only or one topic only. Ink shedding is another form of free writing, and this is free writing that you can share with others. So it's free writing that you do knowing that you're eventually going to share it. You might find free writing really frustrating, and if you do, you might find speech to text more easy for you or something that works better for you. It's a type of free writing. If you speak out loud and have the computer transcribe your thoughts, that works very similarly to free writing, and it might work for some of you. Those of you who are really visual might really appreciate mind mapping. So mind mapping might be the thing that really works best for you. I tend to use all of these things. So as you develop as a writer, you get to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and you know the situations in which various things are helpful. Some things I want to leave you with are things to remember. So free writing takes some practice. So even if you do a free writing exercise and it doesn't feel right and it feels weird, it's likely going to because you've spent so much time in school developing your editor muscle. So it does take practice and it does take a while to get good at free writing. It seems odd that it would take practice to get good at making a mess, but it does. And remember again that something else might work better for you or a combination of things might work better for you. The goal with all of these writing exercises is to find the thing that does the best job at developing your creative muscle. don't forget you've got to make a mess. It really is important that it's messy. So you've really got to let that work for you, let that mess get out. And I can tell you from my own experience that it really helps you to find some excellent ideas.